All right, so here's the thing with the Lakers right now. There's been a lot of noise coming out about how the front office is approaching this season, and it really feels like their mindset has shifted in a big way. For months, we've been hearing whispers about whether or not they would be aggressive, whether or not they'd be willing to take on some extra salary, and if they just wait things out until the market cools down. But the vibe has completely changed ever since Luka Doncic put pen to paper on that extension. That move basically gave the Lakers all the confidence in the world to start planning bigger, to start thinking about making those long-term commitments, and to stop just playing things safe. Now, let's make something clear. The Lakers aren't just throwing around money for the sake of it. They're not just hunting long-term contracts to say they made a splash. What they're doing is looking at guys who might be locked in for 3 or 4 more years, but who actually fit the roster, elevate the ceiling, and push this team closer to title contention. And that's where names like Andrew Wiggins start popping up. A couple of months back, the general sentiment was that Wiggins was a bit of a stretch. Yeah, people liked him at the right price, but it felt like more of a maybe than a must-have. Now the tone has flipped, and suddenly he's being talked about as a priority target, which is something that honestly didn't seem likely not that long ago. That's the domino effect of Luka's extension. Before he signed, there was a sense that the Lakers might just let the chips fall where they may. Get Luka, lock him in, then pat themselves on the back and take a victory lap. But now that he's here for the long run, the urgency has turned up. There's no coasting. It's pedal to the metal. The Lakers know they can't afford to just stand still because Luka's presence changes the entire equation. It raises the bar. It demands a championship mindset every single move from here on out. What's interesting is that even the league insiders are starting to echo that sentiment. Reports have been pointing out how the Lakers' stance on roster upgrades has shifted, and the word is that it's all tied to Luka's commitment. That kind of move forces the franchise to get more aggressive, to prioritize big swings instead of minor tweaks, and to look at the roster as something that needs constant refining if they want to maximize this window. And make no mistake, this is a championship window. Now, as much as everyone is throwing around trade ideas right now, history tells us that the Lakers usually make their most impactful moves closer to the trade deadline. That's when Rob Pelinka seems to thrive. It's when prices come down, when desperate teams start making phone calls, and when those expiring contracts the Lakers hold become even more valuable. Right now, if you try to trade for someone like Wiggins, you're almost certainly overpaying. But if you wait until February, when another team is trying to reset for next season, the price tag looks a whole lot different. And that's the beauty of patience. You don't want to sit on your hands and do nothing, but you also don't want to jump into a deal just because you can. The Lakers have a ton of expiring contracts, and those are going to be their most important trade chips when the time comes. The closer you get to that deadline, the more leverage you have because teams start to realize they either have to get something for their players now or risk losing them for nothing. That's when guys who don't even look available today suddenly hit the market. We've seen it 100 times. Teams come into the season thinking they're contenders, but by December or January, it's obvious they're not. Other squads start the year planning to tank, but a hot start has them reconsidering, and suddenly they're trying to retool on the fly. Sometimes it's about locker room drama. Sometimes it's about fit. Sometimes it's just about realizing a guy doesn't belong in the long-term vision. Whatever the reason, the trade deadline always shakes loose names that weren't even being whispered about in the summer. That's when opportunities present themselves, and that's when Pelinka usually pounces. Now, does that mean the Lakers have to sit around and wait until then? Not necessarily. If the right trade pops up tomorrow, they should absolutely take it. But there's a difference between wanting a player and needing a player. If the Lakers jump too early, they risk signaling desperation, and that's when other teams start asking for the moon in return. On the other hand, if they head into the season with guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, and even younger pieces like Jake LaRavia or Max Christie showing that they can contribute, suddenly the leverage flips. You're no longer the team that needs to make a move just to survive. You're the team that's already solid but is open to upgrading if the right guy comes along. That's a much stronger position to negotiate from. And this is exactly why Andrew Wiggins fits into the conversation so well. On paper, he fills a huge need. The Lakers have to get more athletic on the wing, They need a two-way presence who can defend elite scorers while also giving them scoring versatility, and Wiggins has already shown on the biggest stage that he can step up and be the second-best player on a championship team. But as exciting as that looks on paper, the Lakers know better than anyone that on paper doesn't always translate. We've seen so many teams stack talent without considering chemistry, roles, and fit, and it doesn't always end the way it looks in the preseason hype. That's why waiting to see how this roster gels in the first couple of months is so important. Because imagine this. You get 25 or 30 games into the season, and suddenly guys like Vanderbilt or Hachimura are locking in defensively. Reeves is taking another step forward, and Jake LaRavia looks way ahead of schedule. At that point, the Lakers aren't in panic mode. They're not sitting there saying, "We need Wiggins or this season is over." Instead, they're in a position to say, "We're doing fine, but if Wiggins is available at the right price, let's go get him." That's the difference between desperation and opportunity. And in the NBA trade market, that difference is everything. What makes this entire situation so fascinating is that Rob Pelinka has already proven he's willing to be patient when patience is the smart play. We saw it with the Russell Westbrook situation. He didn't rush into a deal that would have tied the team down. He waited until the right moment, flipped Westbrook's contract, and in the process set up a run all the way to the Western Conference Finals. No, the Lakers don't hang banners for making the conference finals, but considering where that team was earlier in the year, that turnaround was massive. And it only happened because Pelinka didn't cave to the pressure of making a quick deal. So here we are again, in a spot where patience and aggression have to balance each other out. The Lakers don't need to chase every rumor, but they can't sit back and let opportunities pass them by either. And with Luka now locked in for the foreseeable future, the urgency to maximize the roster has never been greater. The moves they make in the next few months could define whether this era of Lakers basketball is remembered as a time where they wasted a generational talent or as a time when they built something special around him. When you really start to break down what the Lakers are building, the biggest theme is flexibility. That's what Pelinka has quietly been putting together the last couple of seasons, even when the fan base was impatient and begging for a blockbuster move. Instead of blowing up all the assets on a quick fix, he set up the roster in a way where there are multiple paths forward. If the right star becomes available, the Lakers have the contracts and the draft capital to make an offer. If no star is out there, they still have depth pieces who can contribute now and who can also be packaged later. That's a luxury most teams in the league don't have. Take the Westbrook situation again as an example. There was a time when people thought the Lakers were stuck, that the contract was unmovable, that the franchise had no choice but to burn through their future picks just to get off of him. But by waiting, Pelinka not only preserved those picks, he turned the deal into multiple rotation players that immediately fit alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. That patience directly led to the team's playoff run, and it's proof of why rushing into trades can backfire. The same logic applies now. You don't just trade to trade. You trade to elevate the ceiling. That's also why the front office is looking at the long-term picture. Luka and DeAndre Ayton arriving within months of each other is a dream scenario that no one could have realistically scripted. You don't want to mess that up by making moves that only patch holes in the short term. You want to build around that foundation. Luka as the franchise cornerstone, Ayton as the perfect center to complement him, and then LeBron as the ultimate secondary option. That's a trio that demands careful planning. And with LeBron, there's always the urgency of time. You want to maximize every season you still have him at this level, but you can't panic and mortgage the entire future for one desperate swing either. This is why someone like Andrew Wiggins feels like the right type of target. He fits the timeline, he has playoff experience, and he checks multiple boxes the Lakers need filled. But it's not just Wiggins. By the time we get to the trade deadline, there are going to be names we haven't even thought of yet. Every season it happens. Last year, nobody was talking about certain players in October, and by February, they were the centerpiece of trade discussions. Maybe it's a team underachieving. Maybe it's a young guy demanding a bigger role. Maybe it's a veteran who no longer fits the team's direction. The point is, the Lakers have to be ready for anything. And here's the thing about readiness. It isn't just about making calls, it's about having the roster in a place where you can adapt. If Jared Vanderbilt proves he's indispensable defensively, then maybe he's not the trade chip you thought he was. If Rui Hachimura builds off his late-season stretch and becomes consistent, then his value either skyrockets as a keeper or as an asset you can sell high. Even someone like Austin Reeves. Right now, the Lakers see him as a core piece, but what happens if the fit with Luka isn't quite as smooth as expected? These are the questions the front office needs the first couple of months to answer. Once you know who really belongs, you know who you can sacrifice. What fans sometimes forget is that leverage is everything in this league. If the Lakers look desperate, teams will hold them hostage. If they look solid and confident, teams are more likely to negotiate at a fair price. That's why Pelinka plays the long game. When you get closer to the deadline, contracts become more valuable, prices come down, and the desperation shifts to the other side. Teams start calling you instead of the other way around. That's how you get deals that make sense instead of deals that bury you. Another layer to this whole discussion is chemistry. On paper, Luka, Ayton, LeBron, and Reeves look like one of the best starting units in basketball. But we've all seen enough basketball to know paper doesn't win championships. Roles have to be accepted. Shots have to be distributed. Egos have to be managed. Sometimes that takes months to figure out, and sometimes it never quite clicks. That's why the Lakers need to actually see this group on the floor together before deciding how badly they need another piece. If it all comes together and they're steamrolling opponents, then any trade they make is more about luxury than necessity. If there are cracks, then you know which positions need reinforcement. Patience, though, doesn't mean passivity. It means waiting for the right move, not every move. Pelinka has shown he's not afraid to pull the trigger when the right opportunity comes along. He's made a trade almost every season he's been in charge, and most of them have been the kind of deals that shift the direction of a team. He's not shy about changing course if something better presents itself, and that's exactly the type of mindset you want to market as unpredictable as the NBA. Think about how different things might look right now if the Lakers had panicked and moved on DeJounte Murray back when his name was hot in trade rumors. At the time, it would have cost them a ton of assets, possibly even pieces like Austin Reeves or Max Christie. And what would the team look like today if they'd gone down that road? Would Luka still be wearing purple and gold? Would they even have had the flexibility to add Ayton? Probably not. Instead, because they held back, they're sitting on a much stronger hand. That's why patience can't be underestimated. And yet, you can't sit around forever either. That fine line between waiting and acting is where championships are won or lost. If an opportunity like Wiggins becomes real and the price is fair, you take it. If another star shakes free and fits better, you explore it. If nothing comes, you keep building with what you have. But one thing is for sure, the Lakers aren't going into this season just hoping things break their way. They're going into it with Luka signed long-term, Ayton in the middle, LeBron still productive, and a front office that's already shown it's ready to push the right buttons at the right time. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, breaking news is rocking the NBA world. Whispers have been circulating that Damian Lillard, the face of the Portland Trail Blazers for nearly a decade, is reportedly on the move, and not just anywhere. Sources close to the situation suggest that the dynamic point guard could be signing a 3-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers, igniting speculation about the Western Conference landscape. While the Blazers have long been Lillard's kingdom, a fresh star in Hollywood, teaming up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis could be just a shake-up the Lakers are hoping for. Rumors indicate that discussions have been ongoing behind the scenes for weeks, with league insiders hinting that Lillard is seeking both a championship window and a new challenge, something Portland has struggled to offer. If true, this move would instantly make the Lakers one of the most feared squads in the league. Imagine Lillard's signature deep threes and clutch scoring in the purple and gold, paired with LeBron's court vision and Davis's dominance in the paint. Analysts are already speculating how the team would adjust their rotations and whether new supporting pieces would be brought in to complement the superstar trio. Portland fans, of course, are reportedly in shock. Lillard has been the heart and soul of the Blazers, a player whose loyalty seemed unwavering even through tough playoff heartbreaks. Could this rumored departure mark the end of an era in Oregon? Inside sources suggest the Blazers' front office is exploring contingency plans, though it remains unclear whether they would receive a blockbuster trade package or risk losing Lillard via free agency. Meanwhile, Lakers fans are buzzing with excitement. Social media feeds are flooded with speculation, gifs of Lillard's greatest moments, and debates about how the Lakers' style of play would evolve. Would Lillard adjust to LeBron's leadership, or would his takeover mentality shift the team dynamic? Only time will tell, but if this rumor proves true, the NBA's summer could become one of the most electrifying in recent memory. For now, the league waits with bated breath as whispers of Damian Lillard in Los Angeles continue to swirl. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.